This is Indiana Hoosiers Live 84, presented by FanDuel. I'm joined, as always, obviously, by Brad Loomis. We will have a very special guest joining us at the top of this hour, 10 p.m. Sammy Jacobs from Hoosier Huddle will be joining us. But until 10 p.m., we've got a jam-packed show, Brad. I'm not even sure we're going to be able to get to all the smoke. So I'll start with this. Before the show went live, Brad, I asked you to think about what the line could possibly be for Indiana and North Texas because our friends over at FanDuel have released the line for Indiana North Texas at Indiana. So, Brad, what do you think FanDuel has the line set at for the Hoosiers opening matchup on Big Noon kickoff?
Well, first off, happy birthday, Curt Cignetti.
Oh, obviously.
Dude, I knew you'd miss that.
He's watching film. What do you mean? It's like,
well, yeah, we still got to wish him a happy birthday. He won't see it, but yeah. Line for North Texas should be like 44.
38.5.
Okay. I was over by a touchdown. I like us in that game.
I also
about that one is I don't think we've covered a 38-point spread in any of our first games so far in the Cignetti era. Something to keep in mind.
No, that was the one thing that I thought about because initially I saw the line and I was like, ooh, this is free money. Like, all right, Indiana minus 38.5, minus 110. I'm taking that all day. And then it's like you think about the first two games of the Curt Cignetti, or first two opening matchups of the Curt Cignetti era. And it's the FIU game where it was a 24-point matchup or 24-point win for the Hoosiers, but it didn't, like, quote unquote, look the part. It didn't look like it did against Western Illinois. You go to last year, and the first play of last year's game is Colton Joseph running down the middle of Indiana's defense looking like Ezekiel Elliott. So it's like I can understand some of the hesitation here, but this team's a little bit different. So I don't know. Interesting line. Very, very interesting line. I do just remember
it's very high. It's higher than I thought it would. Well, I know I guess 44, but like I didn't even, when I made that bet, I didn't even get the Los Angeles stuff. I'm in Chicago. But anyways. These Cignetti teams, they always get better as the year goes on. And in those first games, they really are like true tune-up games, and they don't historically look, it's usually their worst game of the year is what I would say. That's a consistent theme over the last two seasons. So keeping that in mind, which side of 38.5 are you going to be on? Is this actually a spot where you can bet against the Hoosiers? Is that allowed? And take a 38 take 38 points, North Texas?
I'm going to say no, but I'm going to say as we've seen, at least with the year
historically,
we saw it get bet up significantly. And so I wouldn't be surprised if this line closed at somewhere near that 44, 45 number that you were talking about. And so if that's your plan, maybe wait. But I wouldn't advise betting against any of these teams.
I mean, yeah, this team is likely to be the best Cignetti team yet, at least on paper. So you have to keep that in mind as well. However, it's still a new quarterback, still a lot of new guys coming in, another large transfer class. That first game might be a slow little start. Exacerbate. Schwanathan says, drop those in the chat. Schwanathan. Exacerbate is not a word. Who said exacerbate? Is that you?
No, it had to be you. These are notes for you.
Oh, exacerbate.
We did have one stat correction too before we jump into it. Is that the Rose Bowl's contract with the Big Ten ended in 2026. So technically, the Big Ten champion is not obligated to go to the Rose Bowl anymore. Stat correction.
I'm sorry. I was looking up I definitely said exacerbate, but yeah, I said exacerbate, whatever.
Did you hear the stat correction, Brad? That the
no,
Big
I
Ten,
didn't hear the stat correction.
Big Ten's Rose Bowl contract is up. It's over.
Was that really?
Yeah. No comment.
Would they not get paired still with the Big Ten champion, or that's just not how it works?
I got to be honest, hand up. I didn't do double research.
I feel like they'll still match. I just feel like now it's just not automatic. But I feel like for the most part, as long as the Big Ten champ is in the top 2, they should be playing in the Rose Bowl. In theory.
Did you see I mean, obviously the biggest thing that happened is Curt Cignetti's on the cover of College Football 27, and they dropped it on his birthday and all that good stuff. And we'll address that in a second. But the other big thing that happened from Indiana is they released the kick times for the first 5 games of the season. As we talk about what they could look like in week 1 versus what they're going to look like week 5, we now know weeks 1 through 5 what times this team's going to play at. Did you get a chance to look at the schedule release?
I did, but I feel like we didn't talk enough about our previous point.
Hey, what do you got?
I don't know. I thought you'd have something more back and forth for me. But anyways. All right. Top 5. Can you run through them for me? Because I remember we had a big noon.
We opened the season. Big noon. This was a little surprising to me because I also honestly forgot that the Ohio State game was week 2.
Defending champs got to be on big.
No, I get it. But I thought that Ohio State-Texas game was opening the season like it did last year. But no, it's a week 2 game. 2. So big noon's coming for the opener, which is going to be awesome. Mm-hmm. That's going to be obviously at noon. Week 2 versus Howard is also going to be at noon.
But on Big Ten.
And that's going to be on Big Ten Network. Week 3 versus Western Kentucky is going to be the 4:00 Peacock game. So that's the Peacock game, which is okay. Could be a fun one, honestly. A little sneaky, fun. It's not going to be high scoring, but it might be high
the time for it.
Yeah. Feels right.
Will be a good bar sound.
Yeah. Right. We have another. This is going to be the Friday night, whatever Fox is calling their Friday night series. Friday night, 8 p.m. versus Northwestern. That's going to be the Big Ten opener. I kind of don't mind that to open Big Ten play, if I'm being completely honest. If we have to play on a Friday night, make it early in the season,
some extra room for the next week. Breathing room.
And then maybe my favorite.
I think that game just screams blowout. Northwestern our plays Friday Night Lights. That could be the first blowout of the season.
I hope not.
It probably won't.
Definitely not. No, I definitely hope not.
No, I'm just thinking like Illinois, like that level. 63-10.
And this might be a 63-10 type game, Brad, but this might also be my favorite game on the schedule. This is into October. This will be week 5, 8 p.m. at Rutgers. Network to be determined. I'm assuming they're just going to wait and see how good Rutgers is. And if Rutgers is any good, that might end up as that NBC night game. If not, that probably ends up as the Big Ten Network night game.
Yeah, we'll see. We got to look at other week 5 games. Let's
look ahead. Do you want to look ahead?
Well, I want to look at week 5 to see potentially who they eating against. Sorry about that. Was that illegal, what I just did? Did you hear that?
No. Smooth past it. We're all good. Smooth past it.
The other game, well, that's actually the only timed game that week, besides another Friday game for Northwestern. Same.
They're a Friday night football team, Brad.
Yeah, Penn State. Yeah, they're basically a high school team. That's so disrespectful. But I mean, Ohio State, Iowa, Michigan, Minnesota, and Washington, USC. So
Washington, USC is going to be that NBC night game, and we'll be the Big Ten night game. Yeah. That's fine.
That's okay.
I might try and go to that game.
Okay. Yeah, because that's how I would do it too. I would do big noon, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, Iowa, CBS.
Ooh.
Like that. You like that?
Is that in Kinnick?
Yeah.
Ooh.
CBS.
Yeah.
CBS. And then Washington, USC, and the Collie to cap it off. I mean, that's just a beautiful week of Big Ten ball. And they say we don't do it like the Southeast. They say that.
Who's saying that these days? Well, actually, there was a lot of that propaganda this past week. We had SEC media days and some wild quotes that came out of that. But this isn't an SEC podcast, so we're not going to be talking about any of that junk.
We can talk about them. I don't care.
I want to start with, or not start with, but I want to move to what obviously was the biggest news of the week. And I want to just be honest, Brad. I think I was a little harsh. I think my reaction was It was too much. Sometimes you just need to be excited when things happen. And I think when your head coach gets put on the cover of the college football video game, like, yeah, you can nitpick. Yeah, you can be like, all right, maybe I wish that he was shown as to be taller than Malachi Tony because he towers Malachi Tony in real life. Like, maybe I wish that they put more fans at Memorial Stadium because it's been packed for the last 2 years. You know what I mean? But other than that, like if you think about how many people are just going to pick up a copy of this video game with Curt Cignetti on it, it's a really
I
cool
would
thing
get
to
one.
think about.
I mean, it'll at least be on my Xbox One, like in the interface.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. Pick up
Never.
a copy in a
It's.
hypothetical sense. You know, everything's digital
I
these
was
days.
seeing
But
that you don't like it.
that's literally that was the point of what I just said. It's like I think I was too harsh. I think here's me walk because I don't typically walk back takes like a stand on takes. Like if I have a take, I drill it down, right? But
Yeah, I don't even think it's really about like the fact that it's a video game. Like you're allowed to have your opinion.
no. I'm just saying, like I just
I
think
think it's
taking a
good.
step back.
I think it's good. I like the little fisheye on Cignetti and everything kind of branches out. Looks like an old like 90s sitcom. Kind of like it. Kind of like it like that. Has a good fun feel to it.
Listen, is it going to win any awards? Am I going to be like voting for it on like best NCAA cover of all time? Honestly, just because Sig's on there, maybe. But like in terms of what the
I think it
graphic,
just should have been Sig. I think what
that's
ruins
what
it
I'm
though is
saying.
other
Like,
people in there.
why is Leonard Moore on there? Why is
Like,
Mayava
dude, if
on
it
there?
was
Like,
just his fucking snare in the just him, just big old head, like
where's Charlie Becker?
that would
Like,
have been
where's
so
Carter
good.
Smith? Where are Ro Hardy or
I don't know.
Mario Landino or Bones Jones or Tucker or like
No,
Farrell or any of these guys who contributed to the national championship team? It's like I love the fact that Sig's on there, but it's like they could have done more to recognize the fact that this is the national champion. And instead, we got a bunch of like highly rated transfers
I
and
think
like
it's pretty well
buddy
done.
buddy people. It's like they could have done more. And I hope that when they release
No,
the
no,
game, that
that's not
Indiana's
how
all
it
over it for
works.
everybody because that's what they deserve.
That's not how it works. They only had Jeremiah Smith on the cover last year for Ohio State.
Stunned he's not on the either cover this year. Stunned.
Well, the three guys on the other cover are on the Cignetti cover. Anyways, but
Double stunned.
I like. I know. I don't think any more Indiana guys should have been on. I think it just should have been sick. And I think it still exemplifies that they're the champion. I think you look at that. I think you can look at that cover till the end of time, and that's the year after Indiana won their first one, is what people will say. Notice how I said first one, not the national championship. You know, people will remember that for sure.
Yeah.
I think it definitely exemplifies and symbolizes Indiana and their natty season last year. I disagree with you wholeheartedly.
I think that's a good thing.
I think it's a really good cover as well. I really like it.
I got a lot of pushback.
I think it has some aura. I think I like Mayava is an interesting choice. But I did like how they included, right? They had Miami, right? They had a little Oregon, Ole Miss, paid homage to the semis last year. I think, they go a little deeper. They're really leaning into the 12-team playoff, marketing that. And
well, if you think back to
really
the
giving,
deluxe
like,
cover
Cignetti
last
in the
year,
front. He's in front and center. Like he's not featured on it. He's not like in the background. Like it's the Cignetti cover. He's got the players. I think it's a really fun feel. They got I think I like it when all the different schools are symbolized in it. Or you just go one guy. But I actually like it way more than like just the two guys. Like I think it's either one or you got to have a bunch of them on the cover, just like this year's. I like the cover. And shout out Trojan Fly, Jordan Mayava on the cover. Who are the other guys that were on the cover?
Cam Coleman was on there.
No. That was not Cam Coleman.
That wasn't Coleman? Who was that?
That was Colin Simmons.
That was Colin Simmons?
Yeah.
I just assumed it was Coleman. I got to be honest. I didn't really.
Yeah. Colin Simmons. And who was the other school? They had Oregon, Texas, USC.
Leonard Moore was on there, I think. From
yes, Notre Dame. See, like that, I think it was fun. Fun.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
They had all 4 semifinal teams on it, represented.
Did they?
Yeah.
Where was Texas Tech?
They weren't a semifinal team.
Oh, that's fair.
Ole Miss, Miami, Oregon, and Indiana. They're all on the cover.
That's fair. That's
Yeah,
fair.
I like
Good
your
take.
homer take of, let's just throw the whole Indiana roster for this year on the cover. But it's not an Indiana football game. It's a college football game. I think they did it right. I think it looks really good. Pays homage to Indiana in the right way while not being overbearing. I think it's good. And it was released on Cignetti's birthday. I love the behind the scenes stuff. I'm sure he was really annoyed. Honestly, that was probably a genuine snarl into the camera. He's
Are we
probably
sure it's not? Now I need to go back and look at the cover. Are we sure it's not Ryan Wingo? I just saw number 1.
I doubt it's Ryan Wingo. Like, come on. Like, what are we talking about? No disrespect to Ryan Wingo by any means, but I wouldn't say he's a cover athlete at this point in his career. Who knows about the future for Ryan Wingo? But at this point, I would not say he's a cover athlete. I don't think he has the first round buzz that Colin Simmons or Cam Coleman have at this point. No disrespect to him. Who's to say? What if he has a breakout year? What are the odds for Ryan Wingo Blitnikoff?
I don't know if they have those yet. If Jeremiah Smith doesn't win it this year, then
he hasn't won it yet.
I know.
He has to win a lifetime achievement Blitnikoff this year, like no matter what. Like if he puts up like 800 yards and 8 touchdowns, they still have to give
it to him anyway.
Yeah, like he just is. Like, I'm sorry.
All right, let's talk about
Dante Moore is on it, I think. Yes, he is.
Yeah.
So is Mayava. You know? That'll be cool. Only 2 quarterbacks on the cover, I might add. Do you hate that as the top 2 quarterbacks in the country?
Yeah. They're not the top 2 quarterbacks in the country.
They're not?
No.
Is it Hoover?
Yeah. No, let's talk about it because
Hoover's good. I mean,
I think this is a good transition.
We're gonna have better seasons than those guys for sure.
ESPN, Brad, came out with their top 100 newcomers list, and guess who topped that list?
Oh, Hoover,
Josh Hoover.
Oh, number 1.
Number 1. I mean, ESPN.
Really?
Yeah, number 1.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Most of the top quarterbacks in the country are not changing schools though this year. That's a big theme going out. Gunnar Stockton. That's crazy. That's the first one I thought of. Jordan Mayava, Dante Moore, Trinidad Chambliss, who I think is probably I would put him number 1 in terms of returning players. Like his run last year, you might not have the most pro upside, but he might be the best quarterback coming back. And he wasn't on the Phil Steele cover. It's
not according to ESPN's top 100, Brad.
Top 100 return like newcomers list.
Newcomers. No,
it's not. That's freshmen and transfers for the public and Keyser.
Did you see the top 20? And did you get a chance to look at the rest of the list?
Yes, I did see the top 20. But do you mind running through the top 20? I think it's a very cool list. I actually do have it up. I'll just run through it.
Do you have it up? Because I have it up.
Yeah, Hoover. Crazy that he's above Mensa and Levitt. It's pretty cool. Like I said, he's probably gonna have better season. Like he's
this is ESPN. But this is ESPN finally buying into Curt Cignetti. Like this is that's the Bloomington bump right there.
Yeah, it's the Cignetti.
What more do you need to see?
Sinceri, like it's really he's gonna have better. Like, am I gonna draft Josh Hoover above Darian Mensa? Depending on this season, maybe, but at this point, no. Like, I'm taking he definitely has way more upside, but he's gonna have a better college year this year in this system with the guys he has around him. And he's a very good quarterback. Like, he's probably gonna get drafted in his own right. If he has a good season, like day 3, like no problem. A lot of production. I like, it's a fair take. I think
you can just say you don't like it, Brad. You can just
correct. It's correct. It's about if you're gonna do this type of ranking, it has to be about who's gonna have the best year going into this year. Like who's most likely to do that? Are going to use, projection, like returning production. He has to be one.
part of what ESPN was using here to rank these guys was like what's their value and like what holes are they filling or something like that, and then the production I think was the other aspect of it. And so Josh Hoover is taking over the most important position on the reigning national champions. He's got the most value in the country right now. That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, he's the replacing the Heisman Trophy winner, and he's quite based on that criteria. He has to be one.
Yeah,
replacing the Heisman winner, career leader,
and he's got production,
returning production, yards wise. Pretty good. Cam Coleman, number 2, is interesting. I feel like he doesn't really have the production, but definitely has a lot of hype. I mean, he's a stud. So I think with Arch, it's going to be a really good combination. So I'd watch out for that one. But then you got, who's our boy at 11? Nick Marsh? Yeah?
Are you asking me or telling me? Yeah, Nick Marsh is at 11.
I'm telling you, I'm not asking. The number 2 wide receiver on the board.
I think that's, you could make a strong argument he's number 1.
Yeah. I could hear you out on that. I'll hear you out. I think he's better than Cam right now.
Yeah.
I think Cam has more upside, but I think Nick Marsh is better and will likely stay better throughout the course of their careers. That's what I think. I even in saying that, I think Cam Coleman's going to still be drafted higher than Nick Marsh. Because
we'll see. I don't know. I was thinking about that recently.
Season hasn't even played yet, so we'll see. But
like, they legitimately might have 2 top 15 picks at receiver, Indiana, right now.
Yeah,
it's just crazy to think about.
Packers are going to run like a 4-3, 4-3-8, 4-3-6. It'll blow people's minds. I think Tobi Osasami at 18 is very appropriate with that criteria. Losing 3 edge rushers, bring him in along with Chidi Obiazer and Josh Burnham, of course. So I think you're going to have great seasons, but Tobi needs to be highlighted being like the crown jewel of that group coming in. He's going to have an all conference year. No doubt about it. He deserves
he's definitely in position to.
He moves different. Like, Burnham's going to be really good, and Chidi's going to be really good. But Tobi has, like, star potential. Like, this guy can play himself in the top 100 going into this year for sure. As an older guy, I think he's a redshirt senior. Like, he can still play his way into that spot. He has the juice for it. So, love that at 18. They're highlighting that. Like, I think that's the most guys from one school in the top 20. I think Miami's
tied with Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, Miami's going to be pretty good. I think we return more than them, though, is I think the big thing.
4 starters on the offensive line, 6 starters from a national championship defense.
Charlie Becker.
Chuck B.
Charlie B, Nashville, Tennessee. Oh, coming at you live.
And then the last Hoosier on the list, bro, was Turbo Richard.
Very low, I might add, considering he's coming into a team that's losing 2,000-yard rushers and bringing back a 4-string guy to start the year in Kobe Martin and Lee Beebe, who's coming off injury. I feel like Turbo Richard is the only healthy guy with returning production in that room, and is poised, like many people were saying, and I was arguing against, is poised to potentially be like 1A of that group. So it's like, I feel like he should have been rated higher, personally.
I agree with you. And then, as you said, no Burnham, no Joe Brunner, which I thought was interesting, no Chitty, no Yelly, no AJ Harris, no Shaz Preston, who we got 2 different, what are they calling it, where Don Fisher is sitting sitting down with Turbo
Yes,
Richard and
one-on-one
Chef
interview.
Preston dropped. Yeah. We got both of those.
The only two I really have qualms with would be Brunner and losing Pat Coogan. I feel like that's, a missing piece on the O-line that they addressed and probably upgraded in terms of like how it makes them look as a whole. I think bumping one of those guards to center and then putting in Brunner, who's like an all-conference guy, I think is a fantastic move. And then you have A.J. Harris, who somehow left off the list when they have to replace Pawns. Interesting move there, given the criteria. Everything else I'm okay with. I'll let it slide.
Well, if it passes the master of the eye test, it passes the test.
It passes the test. It passes the test. They had 2 errors. It was pretty good. I think we should have had 6 guys on that list of 100.
It's getting better.
Given the criteria given to me.
It's not perfect yet. We're not exactly where we need to be in terms of like how the national media talks about the football team, but it's getting better.
It's progress.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to give love.
Mark alone, Brad.
It might not ever get better from our perspective because you got to give love to those, lesser programs. Sorry I laughed because this is the first time I think I've used that word to just describe the rest of the college football world, which is kind of just a whole shock in and of itself. But yeah, it's of the lesser program. You got to give, you got to keep everyone involved, like hence the college football cover, right? Yes, the trophy is borrowed, even though they make a new one every year, but the trophy is borrowed metaphorically, right?
Rent's due every year, Brad.
Rent's due every year. We're building the house and we got to pay the rent,
Rent once a year.
Mortgage is due, really, because we're building the house.
Buffton Prime's list, Solo Dose, is also ranking the most important transfers for Indiana. He had Cheedy at 4 and Toby at number 2. Shout out to Buffton Prime's list. If you want some real rankings, check those guys out. I also competed in, and I don't want to say lost. Lost is a strong word. I did not win the best of summer draft for Kirkwood and Dunn. Shout out to Tim.
Draft was horrible.
It was no. My draft looked 10 times better if I was allowed to take the entire category of beer as the number 1 pick. Then I run away with the thing, and we're not even sitting here having a conversation about it. But listen, you win some, you lose some. Sometimes you lose, and the fact of the matter is, no.
Beer first pick. How are you not going Corona? All right, give me the categories, right? I was reading this and I was like, I would have dominated you guys. I would have that's the draft I needed to be on.
You were, funny enough, you were supposed to be on. You said you couldn't do it.
It's true. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's the one I missed.
Mm-hmm. A little behind the scenes for you guys. A little pull back the curtain.
Damn.
Inside baseball.
Well, give me the. So one was drink. I'm going Corona 1 overall in your spot, and I would have gotten it. I think it went like 5 in the draft, so that would have been great value there. Hoosier beer. I don't even think that was going to be picked. And you took it 1 overall.
That's like I wasn't prepared to not take us, which was funny because if you look at
that's what you get for being. You're too much of a homer sometimes. You got to just go with Corona or Modelo or something like that,
You hear that, Upland? I'm selling the brand.
That's good.
Me and Curt.
Upland Brewing Company, Hoosier beer.
Me and Curt.
For me, it's more of a winter beer, but it definitely can be drank during the summer. Buy yours.
Tailgate beer. It's not. It's out of place there. No, I agree. Listen, what are you gonna do? If you can't defend a point, don't make it. So
what was the other category?
It was a song.
And you chose
location and activity.
What'd you choose for song?
Toes by Zach Brown Band.
Did you take it before round 5?
Yeah.
That's where you messed up. You messed up. There's so many songs out there,
I know.
Just gotta pick a top 4 and take them round 5 in that situation. See, Matt, this is why I should be running NFL teams. The value of songs grow on trees, Keezer. Come on. It's like taking a running back round 1. It's dumb.
Listen, I got going to a baseball game in round 4, and I got Asbury Park in round 5.
Yeah.
Talking about doesn't know summer.
Asbury Park.
Yeah. A lot of if you know Asbury, you know how good of a choice that is. If you don't know Asbury, you need to look it up.
Someone took Wrigley Field. That's a really good one.
I took going
That's
to a
probably the
baseball
one I
game.
would
You
have
can
tried
go
to
to
take in round 2. I probably would have tried to go for Wrigley Field.
Fenway's the better ballpark.
Yeah, but at least you get a ballpark on your list.
Well, I got going to a baseball game. You can go to any ballpark.
Yeah, well, that's there's better activities out there. I would have gone beach volleyball. Bang, round 3. Look
Beach
at
volleyball in the summer.
all of a sudden I
middle
got
of the summer is
Corona,
the
Wrigley
worst, though.
Field, and beach volleyball. See what I'm doing here? See what I'm cooking? I'm cooking in this draft.
Sitting on the beach would have been a better choice, honestly.
Beach volleyball, spike ball, any sort of jumping in the water, just diving in. That would have been better.
Drinking outside was honestly on my list.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And the other one, so song, activity, location,
drink, and
food. I would have had to go burger. I don't know where burger went, but
burger didn't go.
And I could have taken that round 4, and I just take literally any song at that point, and all of a sudden I have burger, beach volleyball, Wrigley Field.
I had, to be honest, I had hot dog as my number 1 food. I would
have demolished you guys. I would have taken home the cake.
This is all you remember Captain Hindsight, the South Park character?
Dude, I would have dominated you guys.
That's what you sound like right now.
I would have dominated. I would have prepped a top 4 of each category.
I had a top 5.
It's so easy. Well, why'd you do that? There's only 4.
No, there's 5 rounds.
Yeah, but that's because there's 5 categories. So you just need a top 4 because you're only drafting against 4 people. Anyways. That's why I should be running NFL team. Anyways. But yeah, did you have fun at least?
Yeah, I did have fun, Brad. I did.
Good.
I always have fun when I'm on Kirkwood and done.
Shout out Kirkwood and done.
Yeah,
well, my hindsight top 5 would have won.
It could have been up there. I don't disagree with you. We'll never the people will never know though. That's the thing.
It's sad. It's sad. I'm only deflecting because I couldn't make it.
Speaking of somebody who did make it, Jamison Purcell was at the Elite 11 finals as a finalist. That's what finalists do. They go to the finals. Just seeing him in that arena, like obviously the pictures go out on Instagram and we saw some of the throwing stuff that they were doing. Having the Indiana quarterback be there, show out, look good. That's what we like to see.
Yeah, having representation at that event by any means you have a really good quarterback. It's a very select few. So honestly, if you make it to the Elite 11, I would consider you a blue chip prospect just to even make it there. So I actually adjusted and I will now consider Jamison Purcell a blue chip on our roster moving forward. Unfortunately, he didn't make the top 11. Didn't happen for us, but it's okay. It's when you take these guys, they're so early in their careers. And there's a lot of catching up to do. And he's going to be put in a good system to make up some ground. So I'm excited for him. The future of the room looks bright after losing Hoover and Grant Wilson after this year. We'll still be having Tyler Cherry and Jacob Bell return, as well as bringing in a blue chip prospect like a Jamison Purcell. Brings in for a strong room. Does this team go toward Tyler Cherry as quarterback of the future with Purcell on the wings, or do they go one more year with another transfer? We will see. We will see. And that's why we watch. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know. They have room to get another quarterback, but then they could use that scholarship on someone else and go with 3 scholarship quarterbacks with Maverick Gesky at the 4th string because he's now would be a redshirt sophomore at that point. Not a bad option.
And the Hoosiers got options. Indiana also strengthened its defense in the class of 2027 this past week. Brad, we've had a lot of different conversations about should you be nervous about recruiting momentum, what's going on with the recruiting.
Well, we have a blue chip quarterback, so that's a really good sign.
It's also a really good time when you can add an edge like Miles Smith, when you can add a safety like Brady Scott. I'll talk about Brady Scott first, and I'll let you talk about Miles Smith. But just Brady Scott's one of those guys, along with Brandon Sharp, where this is somebody who you heard the staff was high on for a while. And so when you have those guys and you aren't converting on those guys and not bringing those guys into your program, then you start to get nervous. When those guys who you see are developing deeper connections with the staff and you start hearing about them over a longer period of time, when those guys are committing, things are going great. Things are going great. And the fact that Brady Scott, who saw some interest from Iowa, saw some interest late from Louisville, has been throwing around a ton of money in every sport. Really nice job by the Hoosiers by bringing him into the program. And he's a player who's going to, that's a Curt Cignetti guy. Like, you see the quotes already. Like, it's another really good one to bring into your program.
I know Brady Scott's a 3-star, but I watched his film and he's an absolute stud. Private school, prep school kid, tough league, absolutely dominating, probably the best player in that league. No one could tackle him. He's making plays on offense, making plays on defense. He's listed as an athlete. He's definitely going to play safety at the college level. He's going to be really fucking good. He's a fantastic athlete. And he's going to play that like that Preston Zach. Like, he's not going to be a rover. He's going to be that over the top 2-zone safety, like a Preston Zachman or a Amari Farrell or a Lou Moore type guy. He's going to be a big piece of this future for us and going to be in a very fun room competing with, Baldwin or Reese, Ciante Stewart, DeMonte Timms. Like, you start to see how it's all coming together for 2027 and should be really exciting with what appears to be, as they keep adding more and filling more spots. They have with 10 now. I believe they have about like 15 left. Really, I think a class of 25 is really kind of the max they can take. I know. What?
Well, I was gonna wait for you to finish, but I was gonna be like, I got a point because
the more spots they fill, the more likely they're going youth movement in 2027, which would be an interesting time to where it's probably going to be the smallest transfer class they bring in. It's going to be really the first test where we're going to be able to see Cignetti's high school to college development is, and at least at the Big Ten level, which I think is really exciting to see, which we should be excited about considering the amount of players he has already molded over his time here. Like, you think Omar Cooper and Isaiah Jones, Aro Hardy, Mario Landino, Surratt, Fisher, Pons, like guys he just had in his wings that were always attainable by Big Ten programs that he was already able to send to the league. So should be pretty exciting to see how it all comes together in Indiana, going more, I would say, like phase 2, like sustainability program building, where really we're just building through high school and just filling gaps in the portal.
I think this is I was going to say we had the Hoosiers at Huber event, and it was stated at that event that they were going to look to bring in about 15 guys in that high school class. But we've got Sammy Jacobs down below, so I'm just going to bring him right on. We're not going to wait.
15?
15, Brad. Yeah, 15. This is Sammy Jacobs from Hoosier Huddle. Sammy, thank you so much for joining us today. Super, super excited to have you on the show. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Got my kid to bed a little bit early. 2 years old. He's going to bed at 9:40. The high school class is going to be about 18 people, not 15.
All right, there we go.
Dummy.
The difference there.
Come on, man. Get it together.
I'm just going by what Cignetti said at the Hoosiers. Were you at the event, Sammy?
I wasn't. It's tough to get down. It's like a 2.5-hour drive from Indy, and it's like 300 miles round trip, and to ask a question or two, and I didn't find out. It was like 24-hour notice because they didn't advertise it on like the internet, and people kept asking, when's Huber? I was like, I don't know if it's happening or not. So like to find childcare on a 24-hour notice is impossible.
Brad and I don't know a thing about that, but
I didn't even really heard of Huber until this weekend, to be honest.
It's one of the big events of the year.
I think it's big for the donors, right?
Yep. Well, it's big for IU from the donors, but yeah.
We need events like Huber, Brad. Yeah, it's a very good thing when the people get together and it's all rah-rah and we talk about how much money the program can earn and all this good stuff.
Yep.
But obviously, bringing on Sammy, it's funny because Sammy and I have a little bit of a pre-existing relationship because I did a little bit of writing for Hoosier Huddle, and one of the things that drew me to Hoosier Huddle originally was the fact that you were really one of the only people putting out Indiana football content for the longest period of time. And so I went back on the Wayback Machine. I tried to find the first article that you released on HoosierHuddle.com. I stumbled across the About Us page, and it read, "We have set out to change the status quo. While we understand that Indiana will always be considered a basketball school, that does not mean that there isn't enough room for two programs in Bloomington."
Ooh.
So when you wrote that on the website back in 2013, did you ever think you would be sitting here talking about Indiana in this capacity?
No. So let me go back for the history of the site. I started in grad school when I was in Buffalo at Canisius doing my PE masters. I have my best friend who started the site with me. He's an Ohio State fan, but he's a big college football fan and was like, let's just start an IU website. Like nobody else covers it. We'll just have fun with it. And it was like one of these stupid, let's keep ourselves busy type of hobbies. And then it grew, and then eventually moved back to Indianapolis, got credentialed on the beat, was over there. But we always talked about IU could be as good as they want to in football. There was no reason that IU could not be Iowa, where, every so often you have that 10-win magical season, you play for the Big Ten title, but you're always sitting around between 7 and 9 wins. And that was always – this was pre-college football playoff too. And so like saying national champions never came up, but it was always, there was that special season there. I do believe I did an interview with John Herrick last year where we were talking about the odds of Mendoza going number 1 overall. And I thought like 12% was astronomically high just because of all that goes into being number 1. The right team has to be there. You have to have a great season. And all that stuff. I thought 12%, man, that means like IU's going undefeated. They're winning the national title. He's winning the high. Like I named off all like the ridiculous stuff that happens. So yeah, we were a football only site until Rivals picked us up for about 4 weeks. And then we caved and covered basketball because you had to. We still cover basketball now, but our motto was like all Indiana football all the time. And it used to be like that Simpsons meme where Homer's sitting at the bar and everybody else is talking. And it would be like they're talking anything but IU football. And Homer's there saying, I just want to talk about IU football. And that's what it was. I was that obnoxious IU football. Let's talk about football. And Alec, because it's funny because I totally forgot you wrote for us in 2023 because it was just at the end of the Allen era. And I go back.
It was actually it was 2024. I did a Cignetti extension and like a Michigan.
Oh, that's
article.
right. Yeah, it was such a blur between what happened with us with Rivals and creating the new site. But I had to go back and index it. I go, I forgot Alec wrote for us. Why did I let him slip away? So it's been a hell of a ride for Hoosier Huddle. I've been the only reporter at road games in the past. And now it's, the road press rooms are packed to standing room only.
I was going to kind of bring this up talking about covering the 2025 team, but I think this is kind of a perfect way to ask this question is I don't think enough people kind of understand how closely you do cover the team. Like I think because of how active and how big the presence Hoosier Huddle has online and the fact that we don't get to see the press during the press conferences that people don't even realize how long you've been asking questions. So do you want to kind of just, I guess, quote unquote, pull back the curtain a little bit and just kind of let people know like how you're on the beat? Like,
yeah. Somebody tweeted, "Oh man, Sammy Jacobs, a great addition to the beat." I was like, I've been here for over a decade. So like things have changed and evolved since we've been on the beat. There used to be press availability. It used to be in Henke Hall, and you got to ask questions and all that stuff. But the players were at round tables, and you could like talk to them for half an hour, and it was really great. And you could get into some good stories and develop relationships and things like that. Somewhere in the middle of the Allen era, they changed it to having people at the podiums, and so we get one question, and I go into it with, here are like 5 things I want to ask. Now, usually I'm not the first one to ask questions, so the top 2 or 3 things are asked. And I ask what I want to write. Like, if I'm a fan of the team, I want to ask what I want to know. That's how I go into asking questions. So we do get, you go to the team room, you sit, they call on you. It's like school. They call on you, you get to ask a question, and they answer it. But going to road games, I do the stats for the radio broadcast too. Terry Hutchins, who used to cover the team and sadly passed away in 2019, asked me to cover him in like 2016 when it was crossover season, because his outlet said he had to cover basketball. I said, yeah, sure, I'll do stats. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I'm doing stats for Don Fisher. I'm like watching tape. Terry's telling me what to do. I'm watching tape. I'm punts. I'm doing. If you've listened to the radio broadcast, Buck and Don have made fun of me on how I do stuff. And I dropped my notebook out the window at Michigan State one time, and the SID from IU like 2 weeks later says, hey man, somebody at Michigan State reported you for watching our practices and putting numbers down. It said like punt and return, and it looked like a crazy person scribbling. I was like, yeah, that's just my notebook for stats. Don't worry about it. So I have a different perspective from there, in that I get to sit next to these two during the games. Now I do get down to the press room late, but I get their insights on the game too. So if there's something like, this was interesting to Buck and Don, I'm probably going to ask it because it's interesting to us too.
Do you have one that sticks out from this past season?
One question, one game.
I guess like an inspiration, or where like you heard something in the press box, you're like, there's nothing, or you heard something in the booth where it's like, I never would have asked that question. Like, now I'm going to go get the perspective.
Not really. Usually I like to ask about a moment of the game, and that's where the inspiration comes from. Like Jonathan Brady's touchdown return in the opener. What sprung that? Because you kind of circle it and go, hey, that could be the play of the game, and ended up sparking them that game. Or the fourth down at the Rose Bowl. That was the one where kind of we all looked at each other and said, yeah, this game's over. And that's the inspiration for the questions. It's like when they can confirm what I think is a big play or an important play, that's what I like to go ask about, not like how you feel after a loss or a win.
You mentioned that approach.
I was going to say, you mentioned the Tom Allen era, and obviously Brad and I were in school during the Tom Allen era. So like, what can you kind of describe a little bit of like what that whirlwind was like when Kevin Wilson gets let go and Tom Allen basically gets handed the football team? And then I guess what the whirlwind was, because it really wasn't very long after they fired Tom Allen that they brought Curt Cignetti into the program. So can you kind of talk about those two moments?
No. Yeah, I think, because I think you were with so you were with us during our hot boards and all that stuff with Cignetti or Allen going to Cignetti, but going from Wilson to Allen was, I got a text from one of my friends who was a manager. Hey man, you probably need to get down to Bloomington. Kevin's gone. I'll go, hold on. What do you mean? Did he die? What happened? There's a coaching, something happened. There's a coaching change. You got to get down to Bloomington. Then I start getting texts from the SIDs. Hey, press conference at whatever time, get down here. And so like I talked to Matt Weaver a lot. So I called him. I said, hey, what do you know? Jerry Donardo from Big Ten Network, who's like a family friend, called me, "Hey, what's going on? What do you and stuff like that." So we knew that Kevin Wilson was out because we got the press release on the way down to Bloomington. I didn't have a kid at the time. It was just me and my wife, who was living with me. And I was like, we got to go to Bloomington. I'll take you out to dinner. We got to go now. And so she was at that press conference and all that stuff. And it was a whirlwind in terms of like, it just happened so quickly. Now, on the other side of it, and we'll talk about the Allen era. I think people are a little hard on him. One, the way he was hired, and then two, the last 3 years really just diminished anything that he accomplished. But when you look back at it, the 19 and 20 seasons were special.
Yeah.
Now, his time had run out. I don't think he was a good fit for the current era of college football. But IU also wasn't giving him the resources that they're giving Cignetti. I'm not saying that Tom Allen would have done it, but if you look at all these preseason All-Americans, Amari Farrell, Carter Smith, Charlie Becker's on there, Isaiah Jones, they're all Allen guys.
All Allen guys.
Johnny, I think, was an Allen guy too.
Yes. He was one of those. Do you count him as Allen, or do you keep it because he was kept by Cignetti in that signing class? But if you look at all those guys, and then Jamari Sharp is also an Allen guy. You could go up and down all this stuff, and his thumbprint is still on this team. So it wasn't because of a lack of talent. I think there's a lack of the ability to be the CEO of the program, and then changing from Allen to Cignetti. I swear it felt like 3 weeks. It was like 4 days. It was because I had to go back and index all these things from Hop. I was like, okay, he got fired on Sunday, and we hired Cignetti on Thursday. And I was like, it felt like 3 weeks because you're getting calls from everybody. Well, we're hearing this guy interviewed, and we had Cignetti on our hot boards all the way through. He was one of our initial finalists. He was also mentioned with the Syracuse job. And then I think the only knock we had on him was that he was older. And that didn't really matter. And we had a hot board in 2022 after the 2022 season that we didn't publish. Cignetti was on that one as well. So it is covering the coaching changes has been wild because Wilson to Allen was 15 minutes, 3 hours that felt like 15 minutes. Allen to Cignetti was like 4 days that felt like a month. So it was really interesting. But you also, you make relationships with the coaching staff in terms of like getting information and sources. And that's what you kind of dread is like, we had to start over again. Luckily we had a previous relationship with Matt Wilson and Pat Kuntz, and that's like your foot in the door. Mm-hmm. But to lose a coaching staff, and a lot of those guys were there for a decade, along with basically we grew along with them in the program. It was tough to see, but it was wild. It was a wild time both times.
What do you remember fondly about the Tom Allen era? Because there's a lot of things that I think, looking back, to your point, people are going to look back and be like, oh, we went to an Outback Bowl. Like, oh, Peyton Ramsey had some really good years. Like, oh, Michael Penix really wasn't that different of a quarterback at Washington than he was here. Like, there's a lot of different things that I think people are going to point to. What do you remember fondly about it?
That I think it was a 4-game run in 2019 where they go to Maryland to win, go to Nebraska, win, and then beat Northwestern, and then go beat Purdue after losing to Michigan. And that was when, because I wrote a piece after the Maryland game that the script had finally flipped. That was a game IU had lost for 50 years. They were up big, then all of a sudden they fumble the kickoff. Penix gets hurt, your star quarterback gets hurt, your backup comes in. We'd seen it all before. We saw it the last trip to Maryland, but they held on. Then they go to Nebraska, and I know Nebraska didn't make a bowl game, or they were 6-6 that year, or finished 5-7 or whatever. But it's a sold out crowd. They had their black jerseys and whatever. And Indiana pounded them. That was not a 7-point game. That was a 14-point game, 2-score game that was put away and had a garbage time touchdown from Nebraska. And you were, I think that was mid-October, and you're talking about you're going bowling already, and you're talking about being in the top 25. And that was it's still a big deal. I think people, you can't diminish that just because of where they are now. And that's on the health of the sport too. It's like everything's become natty or bust, which it shouldn't. But that Nebraska game was awesome. And then you play Northwestern at home in the cold to get the 7 wins. You go into Happy Valley and you're ranked. You lose, and you lose to Michigan. But then the double overtime win at Purdue, like that run was fun. 2020, it was fun because I got to be there.
He might have been like one of the only ones.
Yeah, it was fun being there. I did miss the Ohio State game. That was wild because I tried to do stats from home because they had limits on who's in the booth or whatever, and it was one of those like icy, like you don't really want to drive to Columbus type of days. And it was like, whatever, I'm going to try and do this from home. So I had like an iPad set up next to Don and would text them stats, except the TV was like 4 plays behind. So I go to the streaming radio broadcast, which was like a play and a half behind. And then I have the stat broadcast on my computer, which is like live. And it was the most overstimulating thing in my life. It's like, oh my God, it's like watching 3 games at once. And I'm like laying on the floor of my office going, Don, I can't do this. There's too much going on. You guys got it the rest of the way. And it was like I watched the game but didn't watch the game because I ended up watching the stat broadcast instead of the TV. And it was just one of those wild games as well. But it was awesome seeing them beat Michigan. I was at a wedding because some of my stupid friends got married at the Penn State game. So we listened to that in the car on the radio on the way back from Muncie. And then, the bowl game unfortunately ended up the way it did. And that was kind of the beginning of the end. It really was. He ran Jack Tuttle out there with one arm, and he didn't have faith in Dexter Williams. And then 2021 hit, and it was over in what,
3 seconds, 1 play,
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Two offensive plays for Iowa and 1 offensive play for Indiana.
Brad, do you remember what you were muttering as we left the stadium for the Outback Bowl?
I think I said 22 bubble screens. I think we ran so many. Just check.
That was Wap Fillier's 23 catches for 78 yards or something. That was my worst experience.
I kept saying 22 bubble screens because you had 22 catches for about 50 yards. It's 22 bubble screens.
I'm still trying to wrap my brain around doing stats from your house for that Ohio State Indiana game because like it got crazy there. Penix was starting to like huck the ball all over the yard, and
he was, and I had the record book out. I was like, "Oh my God, he's going to break Richard Legault's record for passing yards," and it's like, that and the Ole Miss game were the 2 most miserable stat games I've done because Ole Miss they would run a chunk play, and before I could write the yardage down, they were running their next play. It's like But no, this year was a ton of fun. And 2024 was a ton of fun as well.
That is incredible. So you talked about kind of the whirlwind from Tom out. Well, actually, I wanted to personally ask you about, so you talked about it was the beginning of the end after the Outback Bowl. But one of the things that contributed to that was Tom Allen's willingness or stubbornness in going and hiring Walt Bell and then doubling down with the offensive line coach, Darren Hiller. Could you kind of sense like what was the mood around the program as these things are happening and it starts to kind of unfold a little bit? And obviously we don't know the Sorsby gambling things going on behind all of this, which is even crazier. Or did we kind of have an idea of that was going on? But like,
no, I don't think they did. I know they put out a statement saying like no comment, and that's probably because there's a legal investigation since he was underage at Indiana for place of bets, because I believe the age in Indiana is 21.
Yeah.
No, you kind of, so 2021 cratered so badly that you're like, that probably cost him a couple years on the back end. And then, you thought you had something in 22 when Dexter made the comeback at Michigan State. And who knows if they beat Purdue if he stays healthy there. They couldn't stop IU's running game. But it was also a good Purdue team, and they won by, I think, 16 points. And then, the air started going out of the balloon. Yeah, that Iowa game, but it fully left when Micah McFadden got ejected out of that Cincinnati game. That, I think, was a program-changing ejection. You heard over the loudspeaker they're reviewing for targeting and go, oh no. Because IU was up by like 10 points and Cincinnati was going to punt, and they had no answers for IU on defense to that point. And, once that happened and they ejected him, you could audibly hear the air leaving out of Memorial Stadium.
It's horrible. I was at that game. I know exactly what you're talking about. The air just left the entire stadium. You could almost hear a pin drop. It was just in utter awe. And I think everyone knew, because we had already lost that Iowa game at that point. And it was like, if we get this game back against a good, like, top 25 Cincinnati team at this point, like, we could be back. Like, we could be back 2-1, like, looking good. And then we had him on the ropes, and then it was just over. Just like that.
It was.
We all knew what was going to happen as soon as he left the field.
Which was that was the Indiana football mentality. And I'll equate it to, like, the Cubs baseball mentality of, we'll be up by 8 runs in the bottom of the 9th, and your first thought is, how are we going to blow this? Right? I mean, Alec is a Red Sox fan, so pre-2004 Red Sox is the same way, right?
Yeah.
It's something dreadful is happening. You just don't know when or how, but it's happening.
Yeah, it's like, okay, there are like 5 seconds left in this game, and we're up by 2 touchdowns. What ridiculous crap is going to happen to have us lose this game?
You could feel it in the Indiana fan base, even through parts of 2025.
Oh, the first play of 2025 on our message boards, they wanted a seance. They wanted to bulldoze the stadium, pour like holy water over the ruins of it, and said, it's over. This is never going to change. And whatever, after Colton Joseph ran 75 yards for a touchdown.
Crazy.
Luckily, nobody in the department is that reactionary. But yeah, that moment was kind of took all the air out of the balloon. And then you kind of knew it was coming in 2023 after the Rutgers loss. Now, like, a lot of people point to that Akron game as you kind of like, okay, a change has to happen. Yeah. At that point, it was, I'll believe it when I see it. Like, look, his time's probably done. That's when I told our staff, let's start getting our hot board together for whenever we need it, because it's probably going to happen. After the Rutgers loss at home in 2023, it was, okay, this has run its course, and it's over. It's got to be over. If they somehow had beaten Illinois, Michigan State, and Purdue at the end and went to a bowl game, he may have saved his job. I'm not 100% sure. But it was like, that was the point in time where it became real that we started hearing things through the grapevine and through some whispers that they were talking about a buyout and all those things.
Which is crazy, because I think it's funny. You go back and you try and think about like where Indiana basketball was at that point, and I think that's like the Balo team, and we're kind of loading up, and Indiana's got like a top 15 quote unquote preseason roster. And I don't know if people would have thought twice about it if they just rolled over Allen for one more year and saved the money. But they were super, at least from the outside. But to hearing that, like there was kind of some rumblings there, is really interesting. You talked about the transition period from Allen to Cignetti. But at least in terms of like when I started to feel confident about something really happening in Bloomington, it was around February. What was like December 1st to the start of February like in Bloomington?
I think I walked out of his introductory press conference and told Jeremy Gray, "You got the guy." That's how I felt after the press conference. He was confident. He had a plan. This is before he went into Assembly Hall and said, "Purdue sucks, and so does Michigan and Ohio State," which just solidified my feelings of, yeah, we got a dude. Did I think that they would go 11-1 in year one? No. I thought, it would be a bowl game at worst and turn it around. Yeah, it was. I mean, you started to hear this guy was different. And he would post on social media. I didn't love him running into a curb and busting his tire at 4 a.m. or admitting to that. Like, dude, just don't say anything and go to sleep. But once you started getting guys like Carter Smith back, all those portal guys coming back that were big deals, and then bringing the JMU guys in as well, you're like, they could have something here.
I think we got the hitting the curb story from like Scott Dolson with the Trisha Whitaker, Sydney Parrish podcast. I don't know if we got that directly from Sig. I can't remember.
Sure
we did. He said it. He said it in, I think, his signing day, or at least early in spring practice. And that's another thing. Once we saw practice and once we saw the spring game, it was like, yeah, this is different. Because practice was so much different. There was no music. It was a well-oiled machine. Now, it's hard to tell if they're going to be any good. But you knew it was well-organized and well-planned, and that, all those little things that kind of tripped up Kevin Wilson and Tom Allen weren't going to be an issue anymore.
Can you kind of expand on that? Because I know that like he gets a lot of praise for the way he runs practices, and he talks about like the AFCA conferences, and like he mentions these side things that I think a lot of people who don't get the opportunity to be around kind of don't really understand what that means. So like, what does it mean by like a little bit more efficient? Like the no music thing obviously sticks out to me because it's like there's no BS. Listen to what the coaches say, keep it moving type of deal. What does that practice really look like?
So think of any work environment where you have a boss who, like, I worked as a teacher and as a PE teacher. My job was not super serious, but I got my work done, and I couldn't go home until, like, on PD days, I couldn't go home at lunch, even though my work was done, because it wouldn't be fair to everybody else who still had work to do. That's not how SIG, and you'd always have a principal or an admin over your shoulder. That's not how SIG does things. He said it at that AFCA convention. He has guys, they come in at 7 or 8. He trusts them to get their work done, and they could go home whenever their work's done. And he's not going to stand over their shoulder and give you a checklist. He trusts you to get your work done. And he's not going to burn you out. He wants you to go home and get some sleep and spend some time with your family and stuff like that. With practice, things are super efficient too. They'll go through reps very quickly. A bad rep will be corrected quickly. This year's spring practice is really the first time you heard a lot of coaches coaching. The last 2 years, there were some coaching moments, but it was mainly whistle, explain the drill, go through it, we're on to the next one. You got your work done, you got out. Who wouldn't want to play or work in that type of environment, right? And when you have happy people and happy coaches, they're going to stick with you. And that staff has been together since their days at Elon in some decrepit house that got either knocked down or condemned or whatever. And that's how you build a successful program. These guys have been together. Now, IU is going for their third straight playoff appearance, and they've had the same coordinators there all 3 years. And the only coaching staff change really was at the quarterback coach and strength and conditioning, who he brought in a guy who he knew from I think it was Elon. Yeah, from Elon.
He was only there for a week, and then he went back to Wazoo.
Yeah, he went back to Wazoo. So it wasn't like he was a head strength guy at Elon forever. He was good enough to be at Elon. Sig liked him, liked what he did, and then he got a head job at a P4 team, and then went to Mississippi State with Mike Leach. So that's how you build it. The guys have the utmost trust in them, and like I think it was Ty Simpson said, Indiana just didn't make mistakes. And I had a high school football coach. The guy was a total dick. But he always said something that stuck with me. We're just ordinary people doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. And that's what IU did. There were no superstars on this team, like rating wise. Nobody's going off, oh man, like the stupid blue chip ratio. IU was not in the top 10 in blue chip ratio. They were ordinary college football players. They didn't run the triple option or the fumble Ruski every play. They did ordinary plays, and they just ran it extraordinarily well.
They really were just, they really, really were just better. So we talked about kind of that you don't just like watch the games and then comment on the games, like you're around the team. And so like, what was it like being around the 2025 Hoosiers? You talked about the Colton Joseph moment, which was funny to watch unfold from the outside. And I'm glad that there wasn't that internal panic. It didn't look like there was that internal panic, but when did you kind of realize that this team was a little bit different? And then what was it like being alongside the team for this journey?
Probably the Iowa game. That's the first time they really had their backs up against the wall. Was at Iowa, and they responded. You had D'Angelo Pons was out. Mendoza throws a big pick late in the game. You got some luck in there with the missed field goal and their quarterback dirt ball and a screen pass that probably ends the game. And then, Mendoza taking that big hit, running for the first down and not sliding, not really getting out of bounds, but really going for the first down, and everybody, to go back to baseball, it's like that A-Rod Veritek fight in 2004. It galvanized that team. That's when you knew it was a little bit different. Being around the team, they just had it. This team had it. They had incredible chemistry.
But I always say.
Yeah. They just had it. It is, and that's going into 2026. That's the biggest question. Is this team going to have it again? And you're going to miss. That's where you're going to miss Fernando the most, because he was that glue guy that kept he was. Everybody says he is not a generational talent. He's a generational human being glue guy to that team. And he just happens to be an awesome quarterback as well. Riley Nowakowski, I think at Pro Day was talking about, he would get on us in the summer if we were an inch off our spot and stuff like that. Or, I'll die on this field for my team. It might be corny or whatever, but he would. And every time he made a mistake in big games, it's kind of like that Willie Beeman moment where you had to throw up to refocus. I'm dating myself here with these references, but he stepped up in bigger ways. Iowa, Oregon, Penn State. He didn't really make. Yeah, we thought he died against Ohio State on the first play of the game, and he comes back with a great, second and third quarter and makes a big time throw on third down there with 2 minutes to go to ice the game, basically. He was flawless in the playoff games. Fortunately, he had his Heisman moment in the national title game, or not unfortunately, but was the player. He got a bloody lip on a missed targeting and came back. He just was a generational player. And he kind of figured that out at Iowa.
Yeah, I feel like with the Ohio State play, it was almost like you alluded to. like, oh, that same old Indiana type mentality. And as soon as he gets hit by Caden Curry, first play of the Ohio State game, you're almost thinking, here he goes again.
Oh, well, at that point, it was like,
I know.
Let's roll with Alberto.
I know. No, seriously, it's like you could probably put Alberto in there and probably win that game, which is like the funny part. But
yeah, if that was week 4, yes.
Sense though of like, oh shit, we might just be coming up dream season, but not quite getting there. And then
it would have been like man, this is an unfortunate end. It doesn't get decided on the field. It gets decided because Caden Curry knocked the wind out of your quarterback and whatever. But man, he'll go down as one of the greatest Hoosiers ever, if not the greatest.
He's number 1 right now. He has to be. I mean, I did a debate with
the only argument you have against it is that he was only there for 1 year.
Yeah.
It's the only argument against
him or Anthony Thompson for me. I guess with did you have the same type of feeling when or how confident were you when Miami had the ball 50-yard line, enough time to get there? What were you feeling in that moment?
So I'll tell you a radio story real quick about this game. They should have iced it on the drive before. Fish jinxed them. Yeah. Fish goes, they're not, whatever. They get 2nd and 1. He goes, this game is over. And Buck looks at him, goes, and then Carter Smith false starts, and it's 2nd and 6, and then they have to settle for the field goal, and you're like, oh no. Like, you had a chance to ice it, and that was it. And you can't, and some of your thoughts are, this season can't end like that.
Yeah.
You can't have the most non-Indiana football season in the history of Indiana football and in the most Indiana football way like that. Yeah. You guys started getting a little nervous when they get the soft roughing the passer call. But again, it was at that point, it was total trust in the team. It was, okay, who's going to make a play and step up? And it had just happened to be Jamari Sharp. And again, it wasn't a spectacular, ridiculous play. It was somebody who stuck to the fundamentals of the defense, was where he needed to be, and made a nice catch on an interception, on a throw that probably shouldn't have gone there because the defense or Carson Beck didn't read it right.
Which is funny because I was going through like bookmarks, and one of the bookmarks I had was like Buffton Prime T-Cow being like, Carson Beck can't read his own, like bookmark this, come back to this, and for that game.
Oh, he's Buffton. He's awesome. He talked to D'Angelo Pons and all that stuff. He's a great follow if you don't follow him on Twitter.
100%.
We've had him on, friend of the program. And I actually have a few more questions. Mine are a little more forward thinking. So going into 2026, I feel like you have to talk about Indiana in a different light than even like we're the new Iowa type motion. You have to talk about Indiana in a national landscape, being perennial playoff contenders as they should be going into this year. What are your expectations on 2026? What are you seeing early on? And how does it feel so far, at least being around it?
So my expectations are the same every year. It's to make the postseason, win your home games, win your rivalry games. And if you do all of that and beat the teams you're supposed to beat, you're more than likely going to the playoff, and that'll take care of itself. So those have been basically since Sig got there, those are my expectations. I don't like putting a number on it. One, because it gets clipped and you look like an idiot half the time. But it's also, again, you could go 10-2 and be left out of the Big Ten title game because of tiebreakers or something like that. Or hell, even I'm sure there's some way you could go 12-0 and be left out of the Big Ten title game.
We've gone 11-1 and been left out of the playoff ourselves.
Yeah,
so left out of the Big Ten tournament or the Big Ten championship game. So
yeah, so putting those tangible things on it, I don't like to do. But hey, make the postseason, whether that's a playoff or highly touted bowl game. Win your home games, which means you're winning 8 and you're beating Ohio State, USC, which should put you in the playoff. and then winning those rivalry games. Now you only get one this year at Purdue, but those still mean something to the fan base. I know a lot of college football fans, at least the casual sides, are, well, did you win the national title or not? No, like, yeah, that was awesome. But like, I'm not trying to diminish it, but it also
it's so
means
true,
something.
I hate how people think about those types of things. It's like
it's also awesome that
and wins
IU
is fantastic, right?
beat Purdue by an aggregate score of 122-3, or they knocked off Ohio State to win the Big Ten title and go to the Rose Bowl. That, to me, that game was the most special. It was, well, actually, that's not true. The Rose Bowl was. But in terms of like actually celebrating it, that one I celebrated the most. That was the one. My wife was a trooper, sat in it. We got a ticket for a solo seat in the Ohio State section. I'm so happy she didn't get arrested, because I'm pretty sure she would have murdered an Ohio State fan if given the opportunity. But that was the one where I ran down from the press box and you give her a hug, and like, I literally cried because of all the work we put into this.
Yeah.
And it's not just the players. TJ, Alec, everybody who's written for Hoosier Huddle has put their blood, sweat, and tears into this. So that game meant a lot. And people were like, well, it doesn't mean anything because it didn't really affect the playoff. Well, one, yes, it did, because if IU lost, they don't get a first-round bye and you don't go to the Rose Bowl. But you won your first Big Ten championship since the 60s. You beat Ohio State for the first time since 88. And it was just special. And you're going to the Rose Bowl. But, yeah, it was 2026, the feeling around it. My biggest question, again, is, Brad, do they have it? And you can't really tell that right now.
Won't even know after game one either,
No, I really hope they don't follow their week one trend under Sig, just for my mental health. But it's on paper, they're as talented or even more talented than last year's team, even with 2 first-round picks, even with D'Angelo Pons going in the second round and leaving. You bring in A.J. Harris from Penn State, who's a former 5-star recruit. Jamari Sharp's a year better. I think you're deeper at the cornerback position. You have hopefully a healthy Byron Baldwin all year. Amari Farrell's back. They're deep in the secondary. Your 2 starting linebackers are back in Fisher and Hardy. The defensive ends, they look like monsters. Like we haven't had guys that look like that at IU. Even on the national title teams, you didn't have, like, Mikel Kamara was good, but he didn't look like the 2 K-State guys or Burnham from Notre Dame. Like, they're just different body types. And then, Hoover, excited to see if he could get developed. He kind of follows the Mendoza path, right? Comes in, questions about turnovers, gets sacked. Let's see if I'm not saying he's going to win the Heisman or whatever, but can he develop into that passer that, like, Curtis Work was and Fernando Mendoza was? Running back room is awesome. Offensive line is like, this team is just loaded.
I actually completely forgot Fernando Mendoza came in with, like, he holds the ball too long problems. Like, he's going to take too many sacks.
50 sacks going into his last year at Cal. And I think the main thing is, like, the questions around Hoover. Like, obviously the supporting cast is fantastic, and, like, the difference between, and, like, all expectations, like you said, like, should meet those, right? Unless something disastrous happens, right? And I really think the difference between meeting those expectations and then doing the whole thing and winning the whole shebang, right, is, like, just how good can Hoover be? And I feel like with the amount of talent they've amassed, if he's Curtis Rourke level, they should be fine and poised to win another one. It's kind of how I see it. Obviously, games can get weird and you might, lose a semifinal, lose a championship game, but this team is well equipped to go back to back. No doubt about it.
It is. But I caution you're playing another 16 games. Yeah. And that's, I think we saw with Ohio State, it is very hard to do. And, if Hoover is somewhere between Curtis Rourke and Fernando Mendoza, IU will be just fine.
Yeah,
they will. Hopefully, Curtis Rourke pre-broken thumb. Josh Hoover does not need to play on an torn ACL, and with a surgically repaired thumb. Just somewhere between Rourke and Mendoza, they'll be just fine.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest misconceptions people outside of the program or outside of the fan base have that kind of get cleared up by being as close as you are?
I think how you like live and die on each play, and that's more of a fan thing than a player thing. And I think maybe on that too is Sig's personality, because he has shown two different personalities while he's been at IU to the public. There was the we're not going to take any shit anymore from anybody Sig in 2024, and then there was the we're going to just kick everybody's ass in 2025. However, he's like behind the scenes, he's not like that. He's just like he's not a normal dude. He's a football junkie is what it is. If you made a coach on the new NCAA game and we're like, we're just going to put 99 on everything, that would be sick. Watching film, and he started to let that personality out at the little, hey, I'm ready for a beer and to sit in the recliner and all that stuff. But he lets his personality, his fun side of his personality, he does smile, he cracks jokes, he's very smart and witty. He's not, I can't confirm that he's not a robot, but I'm pretty sure he's just not an angry robot going around. Like the faces he makes on the sideline, that's what good coaches do. Buck always told us that the worst time to be around Bill Mallory was when IU was up by like 40 points, because he was going to hunt somebody out and chew them out for the littlest thing, because he wasn't happy enough. He didn't want complacency to sit in. And that's kind of what Sig is too. It's like if we're up, he's most miserable when they're up by 63 points.
Because he has to do the most complacency hunting at that point, right?
And that's what it is.
Hardest almost.
Yeah, but that allows you to have those moments where games are in doubt, like the pick six at Oregon, to have those lighter moments where you ask Fernando, "Hey man, are you having fun yet?" Like that allows you to do that. His relationships with his players, is something special. Even though there are stories where like Fernando would come in for a visit and he'd be watching film and like wouldn't even turn around and just like talk to him and be like, "Okay, Fernando, see you later," and stuff like that. So, I mean, he's one of one, and IU is very lucky to have him.
Yeah, I was just we're very lucky to have him. There's not an amount of words to describe it, honestly. I have one last question. It's might even be too forward thinking, but obviously we're talking about a lot of recruiting. It's kind of how you hopped on, correcting that. We're bringing in 18, obviously
that's what I've heard.
Huh?
That's what I've heard. It could change, but that's what I've heard.
They have they have enough spots, assuming everyone comes back. Like obviously guys will leave earlier than expected, which would open up more spots, but they have room. Assuming everyone comes back, they have room for about 25 spots to where they can keep everyone and bring in a full class of freshmen. I guess with that in mind, and given the number of 18, which almost fills that whole spot to where they could potentially have around 60, 70 guys coming that have been brought up through basically the high school ranks going into 2027. How do you see that team being structured? And would it be a different feel where, maybe a big bulk of the team isn't necessarily newcomers coming in from the transfer portal? Would be a big, the first real season of Cignetti where most of the team's made up of guys that have been groomed through the program over the years. How do you see that kind of shaping up?
Yeah, I don't think that they're not going to lose anybody in the NFL draft and all that stuff. And transfers, that's just this era of college football.
Yeah.
I do think it'll be like 50% high school, 50% transfer portal, which is kind of really what you want.
Yeah.
The whole 2020, the future of the program, I think hinges on Tyler Cherry.
Mm-hmm.
And here's why. If he could show he could play and be trusted this year, you don't need to go get a starter level quarterback transfer next year. And you could build it around you do need somebody out of the portal because you lose Grant Wilson as well. So you lose Hoover and Wilson, you take those two out, but you could go get another Grant Wilson type quarterback who's an experienced backup, has started the G6 level, and he looked pretty good in the spring game. Like, I would trust he's not gonna beat Ohio State on his own, but I trust him to win the games that you are just flat out better than teams at. So that's the key. If Tyler Cherry is the future quarterback, I think it opens up a lot more funds for the rest of the team. Obviously, you're waiting on Monchon Sales to see if he commits and things like that. But I think 2027, I've said this to a number of people, feels like a transition year or a transformation year, where you're going into like you said, Brad, like the next phase of the program, to where, you're in that. It used to be it's year 4. It would be year 4. Yeah. So you're looking at his first freshman class being seniors. Now this could all change in the next 2 weeks or whatever, with the 5 for 5 and bills and all that stuff. But it does feel like a transformation season where, you're going into the next phase. Now, do you take a step back and instead of going 10-2, 11-1, and 12-0, I have looked at the 2027 schedule. It's not easy. But the fan base might need to be okay taking 8-4 or 9-3 and stuff like that, and looking at it as we're entering the next phase.
I think we'll be okay.
Yeah. Hey, off of a playoff appearance, it took one play to just tear it all down to some people. But yeah, you're right. It is maybe transformation isn't the right word, but an evolution year. It is the next phase of this program is 2027.
100%. That's how I'm seeing it too, as well, with just the amount of
you want all these redshirt freshmen or redshirt sophomores on the lines to do something.
Yeah.
And be the players that they were recruited to be, so you don't have to go to the portal for 3 offensive linemen or 4 defensive linemen. You could just get that, hey, we probably need a linebacker in next year's class because we have 3 redshirt freshmen coming up and we need a veteran. Okay, let's go get the best veteran or defensive back and stuff like that. Yeah. I think you're starting to balance it out as much as you can balance it out in the NIL portal era.
Exactly. And it's good that we have Cignetti, who is almost like the own GM. He is the GM of this team, right? He is running the whole shebang when it comes to roster construction.
Yeah, everything goes through him. Matt Wilson is the director of player development, I think is his official title. And, he kind of runs the recruiting side of things, and they do a great job, and did a great job with the portal this year again. But everything runs through SIG, and that goes back to the staff trust, to where you could give Brian, hey Brian, we're playing whatever Ohio State this week. I trust you to have the game plan ready on this day. Hey Matt, we have some recruiting weekends coming up. Okay, I trust you to bring. These are the guys I want to talk to. I trust you to execute the plan we have. So I mean, everything goes through SIG.
Love that. He's like a mob boss of NIL. He's the mob gangster of modern college football, which I just came up with right now. Love that.
That's the vibes he gives off anyway.
Yeah, seriously.
Sammy, were you surprised to hear him come out and take the stance that there needed to be a greater change in college football?
No, not shocked. He tried to avoid that question a million times, and he got baited into a bad answer and a bad clip, which happens. And you take it out of context. Yeah, it looks bad when you say we need to reel in spending when you're getting whatever it is, $13 million a year. But if you look at college football needs to change anyway. It really does. It needs to take its next evolution, whether it's the 2014 playoff or this Senate bill that will probably not go through. Something needs to happen because you can't. The only way to reel in players' salaries or NIL deals is to have somebody not pay it. You're bidding against yourselves. And colleges have done this with coaches all the time. And then IU did it with Tom Allen. There were a ton of reports where it was Tom Allen's going to Auburn or Tom Allen's going to Florida State. And it's like, so what? Like, okay, if he goes to Auburn or Florida State, so what? Instead, you give him a $30 million buyout and you're bidding against themselves. Kind of like LSU with Brian Kelly and Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher. So, like, there's a lot of dumb money being spent in college sports that the athletic department needs to trim, and a lot of it is their own fault. There does need to be some guidelines. I'm not surprised. I'm surprised he actually said something, not along the lines of, hey, we're going to do what the Big Ten says because we're in the Big Ten. They write the checks. We're fine. Like, that's the politically correct answer. But in order to, like, survive, teams cannot pay $40 or $50 million a year. And then on top of that, pay a coaching staff. It's at least 20, right? If my math's correct, Sig's getting 13 and your coordinators are probably combined getting 5 or 6. So you're looking at $19-20 million. It's not sustainable, especially in a stadium with 56,000. You've already raised ticket prices. Something's got to happen with, and I don't know if you guys are fans of Josh Pate. I know a lot of IU fans don't like him.
I like Josh Pate.
We like Pate on this show.
Look, he talks ball year round. And if you do that with the amount of time that I drive, we're good.
It's rash.
And then, so, he said something like, you're starting to lose the pillars of college football. One of them is National Signing Day. Doesn't exist anymore. Rivals is now coming out with something on July 1st, the July Signing Day special. And it's like, I get what they're trying to do, but it's like nobody's actually signing. They're committing. If you want to do, it's official visits will be wrapped up by then and people will commit and it's a big deal. But it was always that first Wednesday in February was National Signing Day, and it was a pillar. It was like opening day for baseball at the NFL draft. People actually took work off from it, and it was one of the days I dreaded because it was a ton of work, but fans look forward to, and that's gone. And when we had Bill Connolly on our podcast, he likened the whole thing to NASCAR, where NASCAR, it wasn't really a niche sport, but they had their hardcore fans who were there for life until they weren't, because they moved off of traditional tracks, off of traditional dates, and then changed how the whole sport worked. And then the pandemic hit, you lose sponsorships and you're losing money and you're counting on your hardcore fans to come back, and they don't. College football is going down the same path. And I think Cignetti knows that. And for the health of the sport, they need to do something.
Makes a lot of sense.
I don't get paid enough to fix it.
I don't know if anybody does.
We got a question from the chat. Does Sammy think we're going to get Jalen Brewster?
Ooh, that's the one I'm not 100% sure on. He's been flirting with IU a lot, and it's almost to the point of, dude, just pick IU or go away. He was at LSU, I think last weekend or a couple weekends ago, because they had him with Coach O down there. It's definitely one that his name just keeps popping up and lingers there and lingers there and lingers there. I don't know how long it'll go, but this might be one that goes into the season.
That's kind of the way it feels like. Because, he went down to Florida, and there was Florida's things they have him, and like that seems like it's a recruitment that's going to end up going down to what is National Signing Day, which is what, like December.
Yeah, every time I ask, we're still in it. We're still fighting there. So yeah, IU has a chance. I'm not going to crystal ball him anywhere because it just seems like he's he's enjoying the process, which I don't blame him. But at this point in time, he could go anywhere. But he has been flirting with IU a lot. He was at the I think he was at the spring game or came the weekend before, or the little 5 weekend or whatever. He was at a couple games this fall. So to get him up on campus numerous times is a big deal. And it means you have a shot. You don't come to Bloomington if you don't. I mean, look, I like little Zagrebs and stuff like that, but you're down in Texas, man. You have steak down there.
And I don't know if you wanted to ask somebody asked about sales too in the chat.
This, I'm going to assume that this is going to be a July commitment. I don't know with the Rivals stuff. He might be one of those guys that goes July 1st for that show. That's if I was in charge of producing that, I would ask him, hey, we're doing this thing. Let's do it on there. They've been absolutely killing it with their video commitments on YouTube. Sales, it's going to come down to money, I think, and IU's going to be competitive there. I think they made it through Bama, the Bama official visit. Okay, it's still in the lead. I think they're most nervous about Texas. Been told that Texas is shiny, which it is. I also think that Texas is one of the only SEC schools that can compete with the Big Ten money-wise. You're talking oil money instead of car dealership money. While you're looking at big-time money in the Big Ten as well. So I think Texas is coming up next week. It's one of the next 2 weeks. And that's the one that you're trying to hold on to. But, Will Fong put in a crystal ball for sales. I don't know if I would be that confident right now. He's impossible to get a hold of. So, like, all my information is coming from IU itself a little bit in terms of confidence-wise. It's one that I would expect this. I don't think it goes much further than July 1st if they know how to produce that show.
Got it. And then I just have one last question for you because we really appreciate your time. We've taken a lot of it. You just started. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I said if you guys want to keep going, I can keep going. I have nothing else to do tonight.
Oh, hell yeah. We'll throw some chat questions in there after. But I was going to say, you just started, or at least Jamie told me, you guys just started a new weekly podcast. So what can people expect from you and Jamie moving forward on that front?
Yeah, Jamie and I started it's not a new podcast. It's still part of the Hoosier Huddle podcast, but it's a new series of it. So we're on the Believe Network now. And, we thought that we'd try and get as many podcasts out there per week as possible. IU football's red hot. And it's going to be like two guys sitting at the bar talking about. We'll have our topics and we'll eventually take questions from the chat and all those things. But we'll have, we're just going to talk ball and do it for about 45 minutes to an hour. And, we'll give each other crap about our baseball teams and sports fandoms outside of IU football. But like last week, we broke down the schedule and kickoff times. And, it'll be like taking a seat at Nick's or at upstairs and chatting IU football.
Love it. That's the kind of the inspiration that Brad and I had, where I was kind of bugging Brad, where I was like, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. Talk to Trent and Tim for Kirkwood and Dunn podcast. And it's kind of a similar thing where it's like, there needs to be more conversations about this football program because they deserve it. And so I'm a huge fan of that. Like I said, your first episode dropped last week. So definitely be on the lookout for that.
It'll come out hopefully every Thursday. We'll record Wednesday nights. You might get a live reaction for the Knicks in the finals last night or tomorrow night while we're recording. That was poor scheduling on my part. But we got to be consistent with it. So it'll post usually on Thursdays. We'll try to be as consistent as possible. We also have our regular, like I recorded a podcast with TJ today. We'll have that stuff. And then we'll have our other sports podcasts and things like that. We are upping our podcast game as much as possible.
Well, and then you're writing for SI too. Like you're wearing so many different hats.
Yeah, well, somebody's got to make some money. Yeah, it's freelancing for SI a little bit, doing some top 10 lists for them, and it's not really a merger, it's more of a collaboration. They needed some writers, we needed some eyeballs, and it worked out great. They do some solid work over there, and I know Daniel Flick did a great job with them last year. So I'm looking forward to having another outlet to get more eyes on Hoosier Huddle, but also have the name of SI behind us as well. So hopefully that continues to go well, and I might actually write about Arizona and Arizona State, and just look, I follow all college football, so maybe they have other teams we could talk about too.
Bear down. All right, Sammy, quick rapid fire, some fan questions. They want to talk to you. We got, is Gabe Hill as good as Brewster?
I haven't seen Jalen Brewster play.
There we go.
So it's
Love
hard
that.
to tell. It's hard to tell based on a highlight tape, because
And
if
how
you have the
good
highlight
is
tape,
Gabe Hill then?
I think he'll be a good freshman. I think the freshman to watch on the defensive line is Blake Smith or Smythe. He's one that when I was watching the spring game, I had conversations with Fish about, and he gets to see a lot more practice than we do, but he's a guy who'll stand out, that we have high expectations for. But that freshman and redshirt freshman class at defensive line is really good.
Deep. It's very deep. I agree. Are we getting Dejon Tally Rhodes? I'd say yes.
I am not going to spoil the kid's moment. It's stick around Hoosier Huddle tomorrow.
Beautiful. Would love to hear Sammy talk about the tight end position group, most exciting group on the team with two blue chips from Indiana, which I believe he's alluding to Elmore and Schott.
Yeah, it was definitely the position. I don't want to say I don't feel good about it. It was the most uncertain one, because we went into spring practice thinking, oh man, it's only Andrew Barker and the other guy,
Blake Theory.
Blake Theory.
Two-time freak of the week, Blake Theory.
Yeah, but you're still going through spring camp with two tight ends. It was like, oh man, like you were going to get nothing from it. But as we watched practice, you saw Parker Elmore get back in there. You saw, the other Gabe. I'm blanking on names. The kid he's from, where is he from? The Crown Point.
Gibbs.
Yeah, Trevor Gibbs. Look good, and some other guys came in. You do get PJ McFarland's coming in the summer. He's joining the team in the summer as well. Yeah. So that's one we didn't really get to see shot all that much, because he was coming off of a shoulder surgery, but he looks the part. All these guys look the part. Like Trevor Gibbs looks like Riley Nowakowski. Whether it be the same number, he just has the same build as Nowakowski. Now he's a better I've heard he's a better defender than offensive player.
Yeah,
but he was still really a very good offense. Yeah, he was a really good offensive player as well. Yeah. So it's an exciting group, but we haven't seen it on paper, and it was really hard to tell during the spring, because some guys would jump into individual drills, some guys would sit out team drills because of like contact and stuff like that. We'll see. They must have a lot of faith in this young group to not go get a veteran out of the portal.
Like a Brody Foley boomerang could have made a lot of sense for this group, but they didn't go do that.
I mean, there's still a ton of guys in the portal now. There was a former 4-star guy from Louisville who's sitting in the portal.
Yeah.
So it speaks volumes to the trust they have in this group to perform and develop the way they want to.
Yeah, I think that's that's the right way to be looking at it, because I think a lot of other people are taking the opposite approach where it's like, oh, they weren't able to get a veteran guy. Like, we should be nervous about this tight end room. It's like, no, I think they should be looking at it as like this staff had enough trust in the guys in that room that they didn't want to bring in a veteran.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's still, you're a little nervous because a lot of it's unknown. Do you trust the staff in their evaluation? Yes. They've went 27-2 the last 2 years. And like, 38-3 or 38-4 over the past 4 years, if you include JMU. So they know what they're doing. But I understand the pins and needles on, hey, we haven't seen them. It's the first position where they've gone potential over production. And that kind of goes against their philosophy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you see them going more 4 wide, or do you see them still implementing the tight end in the offense almost on every play, just like they have in the past?
I think the offense will basically look the same.
Okay, beautiful. What is the % likelihood that Tyler Cherry will be our starter after Hoover leaves?
I talked a little bit about this earlier. I think it comes to
number
50%. 50%.
Love it.
And that's because we didn't get. Who knows how healthy he is? He hasn't played football in a year. I need to see more out of him. But right now, I'd say I'll cop out and say 50%.
That's a great cop out answer.
Wait, real quick. I want to launch in one last question. Do you think that part of the reason why Cignetti wanted to get Tyler Cherry onto the field and sat Josh Huber for one of those spring practices was because he's thinking this could be the guy for the future? What do you kind of understand the thought process behind that?
I get it. You're bringing in your Josh Hoover's a senior. He's played a lot of football. He's thrown a lot of passes. Charlie Becker said that, if he threw as many passes as Hoover does during practice and all that stuff, his arm would fall off. So there's a lot of, hey, it's spring. He doesn't need all the reps. Let's see what we have. Because you also sat Grant Wilson a couple times. They talked up Jacob Bell, who has a rocket of an arm, and Tyler Cherry too. So you got to see what you have there because, you are evaluating for 27. You didn't bring in a high school quarterback in this class. You bring in Jamison Purcell next year. What are you doing with Tyler Cherry? What are you doing with Jacob Bell? And then how does Jamison Purcell fit into the whole thing? And you don't want to say that I use tampering, but you could always tell who's going into the portal and who's not at a couple positions. And you could, have conversations of, hey, we're going to need a top end starter or we're going to need a backup going into portal season based on how these guys look.
Makes a lot of sense.
So true. I'm so pro tampering. I'm not affiliated with the program, so I can say that.
I mean, you could tell when IU players are going to go in the portal too. You could say, hey, he's a redshirt sophomore, doesn't really get playing time that season. Is going to be a redshirt junior, wants to see the field, probably going to the portal.
Yeah, exactly. Another question about, are we getting a certain kid from Noblesville? I won't let you spoil his moment. I'll save you from that question. I'll say yes. I'll say he's going to Indiana, because why wouldn't you want to go play for Indiana?
Which kid from Noblesville?
The other tackle.
Okay. Caleb Johnson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard much about that, but I don't know his timeline. I also haven't asked that much about him.
Yeah.
Love it. Brad, you got any final questions or closing thoughts?
No, I just want to thank Sammy for taking the time to hop on today. An awesome interview, basically walking through the entire history and future of Indiana football with you is a great ride. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks, Brad. Thanks, Alec, as always, for having me on. Anytime you guys want on, I could come on as long as it's after I put my kid to bed, which is usually around 9:30, sometimes 10 o'clock, and all of that stuff. But yeah, it's talking season, right? So
100%. And then no, this was a super fun one for me personally because I remember sitting in my dorm room and reading Hoosier Huddle and like going back, and it's like reading 2-3 week old articles because there is no other content about Indiana football, and just thinking about like what this could look like one day. And now to sit on a podcast and talk about what it did look like and what it looks like now and the ecosystem it's created is an unbelievably cool moment for me.
Yeah,
I remember committing to Indiana after high school and immediately going to Hoosier Huddle and being like, oh, Richard Lego, okay, 6'6", cannon arm, like we might be working with something here. Basically kind of convincing myself, drinking the Kool-Aid of Indiana football, all thanks to Hoosier Huddle. I think it, first Hoosier site I probably went to once I decided to go to that school. So
that's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. I'm, thank you to everybody who reads us. We do it for you guys. We cover the team how we think fans want it to be covered. However, I do miss the off season, which does not exist anymore. It's weird going and covering different sports, but it was nice to have like 2 months to where you didn't have to think about anything and could just recover. But yeah, anytime you guys want to talk football, let me know, and I'm happy to jump on.
100%. Very much appreciate it. Sammy Jacobs, Hoosier Huddle. I linked all of his stuff down below. Follow him on Twitter. Check out his YouTube page. Check him out. The content's coming out left, right, and center, obviously. And so, obviously, X and all that good stuff is the hub to go find it. Sammy, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Alec. Thanks, Brad. And we'll talk soon.
Talk soon. That's what I got for this week.
Go outro.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I got for this week. I appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah, no, we covered everything. I looked down in the notes. I was like, I even like kind of threw in some of the side questions about Sig joining the dark side and all that good stuff. I very much appreciated his answer about where the landscape is going in college football. And yeah, that's what I got. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to Indiana at the Voice of College Football on YouTube. Going to be much better about cutting clips moving forward. Obviously the whole Sammy Jacobs interview is going to be cut. We'll cut clips from it. Some really good nuggets in there. We're going to have Sammy on again because I wanted to ask him about Don Fisher stories, and I completely forgot to write it down. But we covered a lot of different stuff.
I love the journey we went on with our questions from basically the Kevin Wilson era up until 2027 even. We went.
Where else are you getting Kevin Wilson level insight for that's the first time I've ever heard that story. So like those clips will be out on socials, and yeah, it's it's not making this stuff up. It's like I sat there and you read Hoosier Huddle and you're like, I wish more people would put eyes on Indiana football, and then to start creating Indiana content and to have the ability to write for the site was an unbelievably cool moment. If you're a hardcore fan of Sigs Inside and kind of remember those moments, and then just to kind of see where the Indiana media landscape is now, where like friend of the show, Jamie Jordan, is a part of Hoosier Huddle. Like you have the Kirkwood and Dunn podcast that we were talking about. It's blowing up. Like Crimson Cast has been a staple of Indiana media for the longest time. Like obviously Indiana basketball still has like that side of the media ecosystem, but there's an Indiana football media ecosystem starting to really formulate here. And for Sammy, like he was the first one. And so that kind
He's the reason why we're all here today. You can almost call him the godfather.
Yeah,
of Indiana media,
Indiana football media for sure. Because the Indiana Podfather is Galen Clavio, but the godfather of Indiana football media, I would say, is Sammy Jacobs for sure.
Oh, for sure. And
the fact that they're going to get more into the podcast game is only a good thing.
What a treat! And I loved learning about how Mob Bossy Curt Cignetti is. We got to do something with that. Those are my final.
I can't get anybody to print the T-shirts that I'm tweeting at. So eventually, if somebody can print T-shirts, please. I'm gonna have to start outsourcing this stuff. I'm getting this Hunt for the Punt Grant Kane shirt. But yeah, please like, comment, share, subscribe to Indiana at the Voice of College Football on YouTube. If you're watching on X or you're watching on Facebook, hop on over to the YouTube channel, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It very much helps the channel. Follow us on Twitter. Follow me at Alec Keyser. Follow Brad at Bradley_Loomis8. Follow the show at Indiana VOCFB. Follow the Voice of College Football. There could be some things coming in the near future from that side of it from Brad and I. I don't know. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to say anything that might not happen, but maybe be on the lookout for something.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what might come out?
Who knows? But again, appreciate everybody.
Seriously.
Appreciate everybody for hanging out. We'll see you guys next week. Go Hoosiers.